The inheritance of silence. Shadows of betrayal. They say blood is thicker than water. But what they don't tell you is that blood can also poison everything it touches. This is a true story about Sarah Mitchell, a daughter who built an empire with her father, only to watch her brother steal it with a signature and a lie. They called her crazy, locked her away, erased her from her own life. But here's what they didn't know. Silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the sharpest weapon you can wield. This is the story of how a girl who lost everything became the woman who took it all back. Not with screams but with shadows. Not with violence, but with the patient, calculated dismantling of the men who thought she'd simply disappear. Welcome to the inheritance of silence. Chapter 1. The Funeral and the Betrayal. Portland, Oregon, December 2023. The rain came down like nails on the Victorian mansion's roof. Sarah Mitchell stood at the tall window of her father's study, her breath fogging the cold glass. Outside, the Pearl District was drowning. Streetlights blurred into watercolor halos. The MAX train bells echoed through the mist, and somewhere in the darkness, a siren wailed toward someone else's emergency. Inside, her father lay dead in the next room. She was 28 years old, and the man who taught her everything was gone. The radiator clanked and hissed, struggling against the December cold that seeped through the window frames of the 1890s house. Sarah pulled her cardigan tighter, but it wasn't the temperature that made her shiver. It was the silence. Her father's house had never been silent before. He was always playing jazz, always pacing while on phone calls, always alive. Now white lilies filled the parlor where his body rested, their sickly sweet smell mixing with furniture polish and old wood. Sarah had been standing here for 3 hours, since 3 a.m., unable to sleep, unable to cry, unable to do anything but stare at the rain and remember. This legacy is yours, sweetheart. You earned it. Her father's voice echoed in her memory, the way he'd whispered it at her college graduation, his ink-stained fingers squeezing her hand. James Mitchell had built a tech consulting empire from nothing, and Sarah had helped him expand it. While her older brother Marcus partied through Europe, Sarah had created the AI division that tripled their revenue. She'd worked 16-hour days. She'd turned down job offers from Google and Microsoft to stay with the family business. Because it was their business. Father and daughter. A team. Behind her, she heard the front door open. Expensive shoes on hardwood. Sarah? You still up? Marcus. 35. But he moved like a man who'd never carried anything heavier than a phone. He appeared in the doorway, Armani coat despite the funeral, Tesla keys jangling in his hand, that watch on his wrist that cost more than most people's cars. Couldn't sleep, Sarah said quietly, not turning from the window. Marcus checked his phone, the blue light illuminating his face. Yeah. Rough couple days. He said it the way someone comments on traffic. Detached. Already somewhere else. Sarah watched his reflection in the dark glass. The funeral's at 11. I know. Listen, I've got the estate lawyer coming by at 9. Richard Brennan, Dad's attorney. Just to go over some paperwork before everything gets complicated. Something cold settled in Sarah's stomach. Paperwork. The will. Property transfers. Legal stuff. Marcus pocketed his phone. Nothing for you to worry about. I'll handle it. I'll handle it. The same words he'd used when their mother died 5 years ago, before he disappeared to Barcelona for 8 months while Sarah planned the funeral, settled the estate, held their father together when he fell apart. I want to be there, Sarah said. Marcus paused. Just for a second his jaw tightened. Then the easy smile returned. Sure. Of course. It's just boring legal language. But if you want to sit through it, totally fine. He left before she could respond, his shoes clicking back down the hallway. Sarah turned back to the window. Across the street, Powell's city of books glowed warm and golden. People visible through the windows, browsing shelves, holding coffee, living normal lives where brothers didn't talk about wills like they were grocery lists. Her father's desk sat behind her, mahogany and ancient, covered in papers he'd never finish reading. Sarah moved to it, running her fingers over the leather surface, and that's when she saw it. The journal. Her father had kept journals his entire life. Black leather moleskins, filled with illegible handwriting and business notes. This one had been shoved under a stack of medical bills like he'd hidden it. Sarah opened it to the last entry. December 18, 2023. 2 days before he died. The handwriting was shaky. Parkinson's tremors made his once crisp penmanship look like earthquake readings. But she could read it. Made a terrible mistake. Sarah needs to know the truth before it's too late. Marcus has been. The entry ended mid-sentence. Sarah's hands started shaking. She flipped back through pages, found more fragments. Can't trust them anymore. Threatening to. Sarah built this company. She deserves. If anything happens to me, make sure Sarah gets. Every entry about her was unfinished, like her father had been interrupted, or scared to write the full truth. Sarah. She jumped. Old Henry stood in the doorway, the groundskeeper who'd worked for her family since before she was born. 72, stooped with age, but his eyes were still sharp. Sorry to startle you, miss. He stepped inside, glanced toward the hallway to make sure they were alone, then lowered his voice. I need to tell you something. About your father. Henry, what? He didn't want that will. Henry's voice cracked. Your brother. He brought those lawyers when your dad was on morphine. Heavy doses. Your father didn't even know what he was signing. The room tilted. What are you talking about? Henry reached into his jacket, pulled out a small flash drive. Your father gave this to me 3 days before he died. Said if anything happened to him I should give it to you. Only you. Sarah took it with numb fingers. There's more, Henry whispered. The night your dad signed those papers I was outside the door. I heard him crying, heard Marcus threatening him. I recorded it. On my phone. I was scared to say anything before, but Sarah, your father wouldn't want this. He wouldn't want Marcus to. Footsteps in the hallway. Henry went quiet, straightening up. Suddenly just the old groundskeeper checking on the heat. Marcus's wife Jennifer appeared. Cold beauty, designer funeral dress already laid out over her arm. Oh, Henry. The downstairs bathroom has a leak. Yes, ma'am. I'll see to it. He shuffled out, but not before catching Sarah's eye one last time. Jennifer smiled at Sarah, the smile of a woman who'd already won something. You should get some rest, Sarah. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. She left. Sarah looked down at the flash drive in her hand, then at her father's unfinished journal entry. Outside, the rain hammered harder, and somewhere in the distance, a train whistle cut through the night like a warning. Chapter 2: The Trap. 4 days later, attorney's office, downtown Portland. The law office smelled like leather and old coffee. Rain drummed against the windows of the 15th floor conference room, turning downtown Portland into a gray watercolor below. Sarah sat across from Richard Brennan, 60, silver-haired, expensive suit. Marcus sat beside her, Jennifer on his other side. 2 other lawyers Sarah didn't recognize flanked Brennan like guards. Thank you all for coming, Brennan began, opening a folder. I'll make this brief. James Mitchell's last will and testament, executed on December 12, 2023, 6 days before his passing. Sarah's breath caught. December 12th. Her father had been heavily medicated by then, barely conscious. Brennan read in that flat attorney voice. To my son Marcus James Mitchell, I leave the entirety of my estate, including the family residence at 1247 Pearl Street, the Lake Oswego waterfront property, and all shares and assets of Mitchell Consulting Group, valued at approximately $50 million. The room swayed. To my daughter Sarah and Mitchell, I leave a monthly living allowance of $3,000, conditional upon her remaining unmarried and residing in the family home under Marcus's supervision. Sarah's voice came out strangled. That's not. He wouldn't. I know this is difficult, Brennan said, not unkindly. Your father expressed concerns in his final months about your ability to manage such responsibilities, given recent circumstances. What circumstances? Brennan slid a document across the table. Sarah stared at it. A psychiatric evaluation. Her name at the top. A diagnosis: borderline personality disorder with financial incompetence recommendation. Dated 3 weeks ago. I've never seen this doctor, Sarah said, her voice shaking. I've never had a psychiatric evaluation. Dr. Evelyn Cross, Brennan said. Highly respected psychiatrist. Your brother arranged it out of concern for your well-being. Sarah looked at Marcus. Her brother met her eyes with perfect, practiced sympathy. Sarah, you haven't been yourself since Mom died, Marcus said gently. Dad was worried. We all were. The paranoia, the mood swings. I don't have mood swings. See? Jennifer murmured to Brennan. This is what we mean. Sarah felt the walls closing in. This was impossible. This was a nightmare she'd wake up from. She looked down at the signature on the will. Her father's name, yes. But the handwriting was too smooth, too steady. Her father's Parkinson's had made his hands shake so badly in his final weeks that he could barely hold a fork. This signature was perfect. This is forged, Sarah said. Silence. Then Marcus sighed, the sigh of someone dealing with a difficult child. Sarah, I know you're upset. Look at the signature. Dad couldn't write like this anymore. His tremors were intermittent, Brennan interrupted. I witnessed this signing personally. Your father was lucid and clear about his wishes. You're lying. Sarah. Marcus's voice hardened. Stop. You're embarrassing yourself. I built that company. Sarah's voice cracked. I created the AI division. I saved us during the pandemic while you were in Europe doing nothing. This is exactly the kind of delusion Dr. Cross documented, Jennifer said quietly. Sarah looked around the table. 5 faces all closed to her. All already decided. I want to contest this, Sarah said. That's your right, Brennan said. Though I should warn you, the estate covers all legal fees for defending the will. You'll be responsible for your own attorney costs. Can you afford that? Sarah thought of her bank account. $23,000. Against a $50 million estate and unlimited legal resources. I see, Brennan said, reading her silence. Marcus stood. I think we're done here. Sarah, let's go home. We can talk about this when you're calmer. But Sarah wasn't going home. She was going somewhere much worse. 1 week later, St. Vincent Hospital Psychiatric Wing. The intake nurse took Sarah's belt, her shoelaces, her phone, her dignity. Arms out. Sarah stood in a paper gown in a white room that smelled like disinfectant and despair while a stranger patted her down, checking for contraband, treating her like a criminal because her brother had signed papers saying she was a danger to herself. It had happened so fast. She'd returned to the mansion to find her belongings packed, 2 security guards in the foyer, and a social worker with a clipboard. Marcus had stood there with more papers, police reports she'd never filed, claiming she'd threatened suicide, emails she'd never written, full of paranoid ramblings about being watched and followed. I didn't write these, Sarah had said. That's the delusion talking, the social worker had replied. And just like that she'd been committed. 72-hour hold, they said. For her own protection, they said. Now she sat in a common room with barred windows, wearing paper slippers, medicated against her will. Through the rain-streaked glass she could see Powell's books across the street. So close, so impossibly far. A woman sat down beside her. 50s, sharp eyes despite the medication haze. First time? The woman asked. Sarah nodded. Family or spouse? Brother. The woman nodded knowingly. Mine was my son. Took everything. House, savings, car. Had me declared incompetent, said I had dementia. I'm 52 and sharper than he'll ever be. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be smart. The woman looked around, then slid something across the table. A gum wrapper with a phone number written in tiny print. When you get out, call this lawyer. He helps women like us. Pro bono. Why are you helping me? Because nobody helped me, the woman said. And I kept receipts. That night, another visitor came. Old Henry, claiming to be her uncle to get past security. He sat across from her in the visitor's room, his old hands shaking. "I'm so sorry, Miss Sarah. I should have spoken up sooner. It's not your fault. I brought you something." He glanced at the guard by the door, then slid a small object across the table. A flash drive, same as before, but this time hidden inside a pack of tissues. Your father's original will. Video of Marcus forcing him to sign the fake one. Bank transfers showing payments to Dr. Cross. It's all there. Sarah palmed the drive, slid it into her sock. "Why would Marcus do this?" she whispered. "Greed," Henry said simply. "And something else. Your father was going to change the will officially. Give you controlling interest in the company. Marcus found out. This was his way of making sure that never happened." After Henry left, Sarah sat in her cell, because that's what it was no matter what they called it, and stared at the ceiling. They thought they'd erased her. They thought she'd break. But as the sedatives wore off and the rage crystallized into something colder, clearer, Sarah realized something. She wasn't going to fight this in court. She was going to destroy them the way they destroyed her. Slowly. Silently. Completely. Chapter 3. The Awakening. 6 weeks later, East Portland, 82nd Avenue. Sarah Mitchell died in that hospital. The woman who walked out 6 weeks later was someone new. She'd played their game perfectly, taken the medications, attended the therapy sessions, smiled at Dr. Evelyn Cross and told her she understood now that she'd been unwell, and was grateful for Marcus's intervention. Dr. Cross signed the release papers, satisfied she'd helped a troubled young woman. She had no idea she just unleashed something much more dangerous. Sarah stepped out of St. Vincent's into a frozen January morning with $47 in her pocket, clothes that didn't fit anymore, she'd lost 15 pounds, and a flash drive hidden in her bra. No phone. No credit cards, Marcus had frozen them all. No apartment, he'd sold it. But she had something more valuable than any of that. She had purpose. The Max train took her east, away from the Pearl District's Victorian elegance, into Portland's grittier reality. Past gentrified neighborhoods, past the homeless camps under the overpasses, to 82nd Avenue where the massage parlors and check-cashing places outnumbered the coffee shops. She walked into a 24-hour diner called the Roadhouse. Torn vinyl booths, the smell of burnt coffee and grease, a flickering open sign in the window. "Help you." The manager looked her up and down. Two thin, haunted eyes, cheap clothes. "I need a job. Night shift. I'll work for cash." The manager studied her. "You running from something?" "No. I'm running towards something." She started that night. Sarah, no. Emma, now the name she gave, worked 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., serving truckers and insomniacs and people whose lives had also fallen apart. She poured coffee, cleaned tables, and listened to the rain on the windows while planning her revenge. During the day, she slept in a motel room that cost $35 a night and smelled like cigarettes and broken dreams. When she wasn't sleeping, she was at the public library using the computers. That's where she started building her case. The flash drive Henry gave her contained everything. Her father's original will, dated 2 years prior, splitting everything 50-50 between her and Marcus. A video, shaky phone footage, of Marcus and 2 lawyers in her father's bedroom. Her father barely conscious on morphine. Marcus guiding his trembling hand to sign papers. "Just sign it, Dad. It's for the estate tax." Sarah already agreed. Her father's slurred voice. "Sarah? Where's Sarah?" "She's downstairs, Dad. Just sign." Bank transfers. $50,000 from Marcus to Dr. Evelyn Cross's Consulting LLC, dated 2 days before Sarah's psychiatric evaluation. Emails between Marcus and Jennifer, planning the whole thing. "Once she's committed, we can petition for full conservatorship. She won't be able to challenge anything. What if she fights it?" "She won't. Dad's diagnosis will hold. Cross will testify she's unstable. Sarah will look exactly as crazy as we say she is." Sarah sat in the library at 2 a.m., the only person there besides the security guard, reading these emails on a borrowed tablet, and felt something inside her turn to ice. They hadn't just stolen her inheritance. They tried to steal her mind. That's when she met Thomas Chun. The phone number the woman in the hospital gave her led to a tiny office above a faux restaurant in southeast Portland. Thomas was 40, disbarred 3 years ago for punching a judge who'd ruled against his sister in a similar inheritance case. Now he worked off the books, helping women the system had failed. "Your case is solid," Thomas said, reviewing the flash drive contents. "We can get the will overturned, get you restored to the estate. 6 months, maybe less." "I don't want that," Sarah said. Thomas looked up. "You don't want your inheritance back?" "I want more than that." Sarah leaned forward. "I want them to feel what I felt. I want Marcus in that hospital bed. I want Dr. Cross to lose everything. I want Jennifer to realize she married a monster. I want them to know what they did to me." Thomas was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. "That," he said, "is going to take a little longer." Chapter 4. The Silent Preparation. February-March 2024. Sarah disappeared into the city's shadows and started building an arsenal. Not weapons. Evidence. Connections. Leverage. She cut her long hair short, dyed it dark brown. Bought clothes from Goodwill. Lost more weight until her own brother wouldn't recognize her. She tested this theory one night when Marcus walked into the roadhouse at 2 a.m. He ordered coffee. She poured it. He looked right through her. "You look tired," she said, playing her role. "Long week," Marcus said, checking his phone. Then to whoever he was talking to, "The estate sale closes Friday. Then we're clear, Cayman account, baby." He left a $2 tip and never looked at her twice. Sarah watched him go, memorizing everything. During the day, while Marcus thought his sister was broken and gone, Sarah worked. Week 1. She befriended Jennifer's personal assistant, Chloe, at a yoga class. Young, underpaid, unhappy. They got coffee. Sarah, playing Emma the waitress, listened to Chloe complain about her awful boss. "She treats me like a servant. And her husband's worse, total narcissist." Sarah made sympathetic noises and bought Chloe another latte. By week 3, Chloe was showing Emma screenshots of Jennifer's calendar, her emails, complaining about the Mitchells' extravagant spending while she made $30,000 a year. Week 4. Sarah created a fake LinkedIn profile, Jessica Martin, freelance journalist, and contacted Dr. Evelyn Cross about an interview for an article on women in psychiatry. Dr. Cross, flattered, agreed to coffee. Sarah recorded the entire conversation on her phone. "So you've been practicing how long?" 15 years. Though some of my most rewarding work has been, let's say, private consultations, helping families navigate difficult situations with troubled members. Like court-ordered evaluations? Sometimes. Though between you and me, Dr. Cross leaned in, conspiratorial, some families just need the official documentation to protect themselves from unstable relatives. I help facilitate that. It's not strictly by the book, but it helps people. "So you've diagnosed patients you haven't actually examined?" Dr. Cross hesitated, then laughed. "You can't print that." "Of course not," Sarah lied. Week 6. Thomas Chun found 3 other families where Dr. Cross had provided false diagnoses for payment. All women. All stripped of their rights by male relatives. "She's been running this scam for years," Thomas said. Week 8. Sarah discovered Marcus's secret. Using Chloe's access to Jennifer's emails, she found bank statements. Marcus had been embezzling from Mitchell Consulting for 3 years, small amounts at first, then larger. $2.3 million funneled through shell companies. The company's CFO had started asking questions last month. Marcus was getting sloppy, desperate. That's when Sarah knew. She didn't have to destroy Marcus. He was already destroying himself. She just had to accelerate it. Week 10. Sarah sent an anonymous email to Mitchell Consulting's CFO, attaching evidence of the embezzlement. No explanation. Just numbers. The board ordered an immediate audit. Week 11. Sarah sent Jennifer's phone screenshots of Marcus's texts with another woman. His affair with the company VP. No message. Just pictures. Jennifer confronted Marcus at a charity gala. The fight was public, loud, and captured on dozens of phones. By morning, it was all over Portland's social media. Week 12. As Marcus's world started cracking, he became paranoid. Erratic. Started drinking. His hands shook during meetings. The company's insurance provider, prompted by an anonymous tip, required all executives to undergo mandatory psychological evaluations. New policy after several corporate scandals. Marcus was randomly selected. The evaluator, unaware of the irony, noted in his report. Subject shows signs of extreme stress, possible personality disorder, paranoid ideation. Recommend further evaluation and temporary leave from executive duties. Sarah read the report. Chloe had forwarded it and smiled. The mirror was complete. Chapter 5: The Unraveling. Late March 2024. Marcus Mitchell's world collapsed in exactly 12 days. Day 1. The audit results came back. 2.3 million missing. The board confronted Marcus in an emergency meeting. He denied everything. They had bank records. Day 2. Jennifer filed for divorce. Took their joint savings, what was left, and moved into a hotel. Marcus came home to an empty penthouse. Day 3. The company fired Marcus, released a statement about financial irregularities. Local news picked it up. Tech executive accused of embezzlement. Marcus's face on every screen. Day 4. Criminal charges filed. Fraud, embezzlement, elder abuse. They'd found the video of him forcing their father to sign documents. Day 5. Marcus's lawyer called Sarah's old number trying to reach her. He wanted to negotiate. If Sarah testified that their father had been incompetent due to illness, it might reduce Marcus's sentence. The number was disconnected. Day 6. Marcus showed up at the mansion, still legally his, and found it empty. Henry had quit. The furniture was gone. Sarah's team had moved fast. He wandered through empty rooms, his footsteps echoing. Day 7. Marcus went to Dr. Cross, desperate, asking her to say Sarah had been dangerous, that he'd acted to protect the family. Dr. Cross wouldn't take his calls. Her license was under review. Someone had sent the medical board recordings of her admitting to false diagnoses. Day 8. Marcus started calling old friends. No one answered. Day 9. Country club membership revoked. Day 10. Marcus, drunk, made threats on Jennifer's voicemail. Explicit, violent threats. Someone reported them to police. Day 11. Police picked Marcus up for a psych evaluation. Protocol for credible threats. Day 12. Marcus Mitchell was admitted to St. Vincent Hospital's psychiatric wing for a 72-hour hold. They gave him a paper gown. Took his belt, his shoelaces, his phone. Put him in a white room that smelled like disinfectant. Told him it was for his own safety. In the common room, Marcus sat by the barred windows and stared out at Powell's books, glowing warm in the rain. A nurse brought him medication in a small paper cup. "I'm not crazy," Marcus said. "Of course not," the nurse said kindly. "But you need help." Somewhere across the city, in a law office above a faux restaurant, Sarah Mitchell watched the security footage on Thomas Chen's laptop. Her brother, in a paper gown, looking exactly as lost as she had felt 3 months ago. She felt nothing. "The will contest hearing is Friday," Thomas said. "With the evidence we have, the video, the bank transfers, Dr. Cross's admission, it's over. You'll get everything back." And Marcus faces trial for embezzlement and elder abuse. Looking at 15 to 20 years. Sarah closed the laptop. "No," she said. Thomas frowned. "No. No trial. I want to offer him a deal." Chapter 6. The Reversal. Friday, March 29th, Courthouse. The judge reviewed the evidence for 4 hours. The original will. The video of Marcus forcing their father to sign. The bank transfers to Dr. Cross. Old Henry's testimony. The medical records showing their father's Parkinson's had made him incapable of writing that smooth signature. At 4 p.m. the judge ruled. The will dated December 12, 2023, is hereby declared null and void due to fraud and undue influence. The prior will dated April 2021 is reinstated. All assets are to be returned to the estate and distributed, according to the original terms, 50-50 between Sarah Mitchell and Marcus Mitchell. Sarah's lawyer stood. Your Honor, Miss Mitchell would like to make a statement. Sarah approached the bench. Behind her, Marcus sat in an orange jumpsuit, flanked by guards. He looked like a ghost. Your Honor, Sarah said clearly, I'm prepared to offer my brother a settlement. In exchange for signing over all claims to the estate and providing a written confession to the fraud, I will not press criminal charges for embezzlement or elder abuse. The courtroom went silent. The judge raised an eyebrow. Miss Mitchell, given what your brother put you through, you're not seeking criminal prosecution? No, Your Honor. But I do have conditions. She turned to Marcus. You'll live in an apartment I provide. You'll receive a monthly allowance of $3,000, the same amount you gave me. You cannot leave Oregon without my written permission. You cannot start any business or access any accounts without my approval. If you violate any term, the evidence of your crimes goes to the prosecutor, and you'll face the full 20 years. Marcus stared at her. His sister. The girl he'd erased. You're keeping me prisoner, he whispered. No, Sarah said. I'm giving you exactly what you gave me. A life where someone else controls everything. Where every day you'll remember what you did. And who holds your fate. She leaned closer. I could have killed you, Marcus. Legally. 20 years in prison would have destroyed you. But that would have been mercy. Quick. Finite. This is forever. Every morning you'll wake up in that apartment and know your little sister owns you. Every check you cash will have my signature. Every decision you make will need my approval. That's not justice, Marcus said. No, Sarah agreed. It's revenge. But I'm calling it rehabilitation. The judge looked between them. This is highly unusual. He took my mind, Your Honor, Sarah said. I'm taking his freedom. Seems fair. Marcus signed the papers that afternoon. Dr. Evelyn Cross lost her medical license 1 week later. Jennifer remarried within a year. A tech CEO from Seattle. She never spoke Marcus's name again. Chapter 7. 1 year later. December 2024. Sarah Mitchell stood at her father's grave on the anniversary of his death. The rain had stopped. Rare winter sun broke through Portland's clouds, warming the cemetery grass. She placed a single white rose on the headstone. James Mitchell. Beloved father. 1962 to 2023. Behind her a black town car waited. Her company, Mitchell Consulting, now Mitchell AI Solutions, had tripled in value under her leadership. She'd merged it with an AI ethics nonprofit, making it both profitable and meaningful. Her team was good. Thomas Chun, now officially reinstated to the bar, served as general counsel. Chloe ran HR. Old Henry lived in the guest house at the mansion, fully retired with a pension that would outlast him. And Marcus? Sarah knew exactly where he was right now. In his one-bedroom apartment in East Portland, working his shift at a Target stockroom. She'd arranged the job. Fair pay. Honest work. Every month he received his check. Every month it bore her signature. She'd seen him last week, accidentally on purpose at a coffee shop. He'd looked at her, and for a moment she thought he might say something. But he just looked away. That was the thing about revenge Sarah had learned. It wasn't the big explosion. It wasn't dramatic confrontation. It was the slow daily weight of knowing you'd lost to someone you'd underestimated. Did it feel like you thought it would? Thomas had asked her once. No, Sarah admitted. I thought I'd feel triumphant. Instead I just feel quiet. Maybe that's the point, Thomas said. You didn't become him. That's the real victory. Now, standing at her father's grave, Sarah wondered if he'd be proud. She'd won. She'd survived. She'd turned their weapon against them. But she'd also lost something she could never get back. The girl who believed family meant safety. I miss you, Dad, she whispered. The wind moved through the cemetery trees, and for just a moment, Sarah could swear she heard her father's voice. You did good, sweetheart. You did real good. She walked back to the car. The cemetery gates closed behind her. And Sarah Mitchell, no longer a victim, no longer invisible, drove back into the city she'd conquered, not with screams but with silence, not with violence but with patience. The inheritance of silence, it turned out, wasn't what they'd tried to give her. It was what she'd chosen to take.